Today, on the Early Morning Show, does the most phony person you know stare back at you each morning in the mirror? Find out how to make your inner image the same as your outer image. Let's cue the rooster and get this show started.
Every time I need that shit, devil make another.
Hey man, if you got something that you believe in and you believe that you can do it and nobody else do, just go for it. It's your life.
My life is moving fast, I gotta slow it down. Yeah, now I got it, they all come around. But when I ain't have it, they nowhere to be found. Yeah, I had to stick with the ones who stay down. And now a lot of people say I changed on them, because I'm whipping in the range on them. I don't think I'm acting different, I just found out that these folks ain't in my interest. And you ain't got a lot of kick it. I messed around and pulled a whole foe up. Banging zero, I roll up. I don't do it, boy, you gotta grow up. My mom's scared to believe me, I gotta show her.
Good morning and welcome to the Early Morning Show. Today we're going to talk about depression and what a lot of people are going through right now. So I always started when I taught class, I asked people, how much further would you be down the road of your dreams if you decided to get out of your own way? See, most people are standing or sitting or laying in their own way. They just can't get up. Once life knocks them down, they're so far low, it wouldn't take an army of people to say, come on, bro, get out of bed. You can do it. You can do it. But they can't do it because they never experienced failure before. You see, most of us do not need a stranger to critique us because we're our own worst critics. And in some cases, we're our own worst enemy. So there are three levels in life that we face with these problems: past issues, present concerns, and future issues. So the first one up we're going to talk about to try to move you forward out of depression is those past issues. Now today when people are depressed and they're happy at work, that's a new term, or it's been around for a while, it's called functional depression. Just like when you're a functional alcoholic, you can operate under this stress. And they're functionally depressed. So let's start with past issues. These are things that come up to haunt you. So when you were a child, and most adult problems come out of childhood, I have yet to meet the person who had an adulthood problem that was rooted in adulthood. Most people operate out of the bag of their own childhood. So, when you were young, somebody told you that you would never amount to anything. You ain't gonna be, boop. You know what I mean by that. And they told you that. And like the famous motivational speaker Les Brown said, someone told you that you weren't gonna be nothing, and you lived down to those expectations. You lived down to those expectations. You could have grew up in a home where they said, you're going to be something. You're going to be the best thing since sliced bread. And you would have believed it. But they did not. And so a lot of us operate in a depressive mode out of past issues. Okay? So deep inside you feel like a winning failure. No matter what you achieve, you could be as much money as Bill Gates, but you still believe yourself to be a failure. People always ask, why do people with a lot of money commit suicide? Why do people with a lot of money get divorced? It has nothing to do with money. When I used to counsel, I counseled people that made a lot of money. I counseled people that made a little money, and they had the same problems. Money won't solve anything that's in your head. Okay, it won't do it. So, usually also people find that they're not where they want to be at that time. I'm not where I want to be. But actually, it's a fantasy land, a place that you want to be. It does not exist. The one thing you have to do is you have to update your fantasies. A lot of people get their fantasies from when they were a little child, when they were under 6 years old, or a little bit higher. When I grow up, I want to do this, and I'll be a great person, and everybody will look up to me. But those are the dreams and the fantasy of a 6-year-old, a 7, 8-year-old. They have nothing to do with adulthood because most real businesses and most real successes come from failures. So when you got a failure, you move forward and corrected that, and you move forward and corrected it, and then so on. The difference between a child and an adult is the child doesn't have the failure behind them yet. So they could easily say, I want to be retired by the time I'm 30 and have $1 billion and be driven around by a chauffeur living Maybach. You have to update your fantasies. If you have what you believe has failed in life, and your failure could look like success to somebody else, you might want to scrap all those childhood fantasies of how everything was going to turn out just right. Because as an adult, you already know things don't turn out right. You can do a great business, get a great job, you get a medium to low job, and you have one COVID economy come along, tanks the whole economy. And it took your job with it, okay? So, because if you have still childhood beliefs, and I'm talking to you directly the way I talk to people for over 30 years when I used to counsel. If you have childhood beliefs, they will wreck your adulthood beliefs, okay? Because you're going to have two different ideas in your head. So when you try to do something, you always find yourself pulled back because you're still thinking about a childhood decision and adulthood decision at the same time. If you started a company, why didn't it didn't work right? I hired these employees. How come they didn't do what I told them to? How come they cost me money? Let me tell you something. I left the military way back after the Gulf War when I got back, 1992. And I've had my own business since then. I've been on TV. I've been on radio. Since then, I've never liked to work for anybody. In time in between, like going to college, doing other things, yeah, you have to take a job. But I have never known an employee that will do what you think they're going to do because they're a separate individual. Okay? They're separate individuals. So when you show up, you got all these grandiose business ideas. We're going to do this, this, and this, and I'll be a millionaire in less than the end of the year. Won't happen. Because the person that you invite along is there to fulfill their dream, not yours. So after always a negative time period, say you got over that sort of depression, the blue skies come back. But if you have that type mindset, you're always thinking, the storm clouds on the horizon, my problems will occur again. And with that type mindset, it does happen. Which moves me to number 2 category of your type of depression. Your depression based on present concerns, the concerns that you are in now. Your functional depression where you smile at work, geez, and then inside you're like, oh, I feel like shit. So your present concerns, like right now we're in a COVID-19 economy. You didn't see that coming last year. And if you would look at the tapes I made a while back, it would say how you should pay your bills in advance. And nobody worries about paying their bills in advance. They'll go clubbing, they'll buy an outfit, they'll buy a brand new car, they'll take 20 credit cards out. But when a COVID economy hits, the Great Recession like hit in 2008, that's when we say, damn, if I had only paid this bill, if I had only paid these credit cards. See, so when you go forward again, work with that same type mindset like they did in the Great Depression time period. If I don't pay this stuff now, this economy is going to collapse again. And I predicted it back in the 90s. When I pulled back from the stock market, I knew it was going to crash when it did the last time it did. For one reason. This was the first stock market where baby boomers and retirement was invested into that. Their retirement was invested into that. So I want to tell you, next time it's going to happen again. Why? Because the stock market was designed for profit. It was not designed for people's retirement. No matter what they tell you, don't believe it. So 1 to 2% of the wealth in the globe is 90% of the wealth of the globe is in 1 to 2% of people's hands. And so even in a bad economy, the stock market is soaring. But it's not soaring off of people who have a little means to live income. You ever wonder why you could have a COVID environment and everybody's out of work and the stock market is still climbing? 1 to 2% of the wealth that's on the globe is investing into that stock market. Okay? They're playing a slot machine. And they're partly using your money. This is what happened in the last recession. They knew, is the reason I got out back then, they knew that within a couple of years, the first baby boomers were retiring. And so I predicted everybody back then, watch, they're going to tank that stock market. They're going to take that money out of their stock market. People who are multi-billionaires and millionaires who invest in that market don't want to give their money to people who are going to retire. Even the government wants to invest Social Security into that. That's going to be the worst decision ever. Because rich people play that stock market like the lottery. So I knew And they put it on the news. They said within 2 years, the first baby boomer is going to retire. When it got almost a year and a half out, stock market tanked. Those big wigs withdrew that money immediately. So you can't do that when you have regular stocks. When they have $1 million plus in a stock market, they have puts and brokers who tell them in advance that it's going down in 2 or 3 months. When you find out on the news that morning or in a newspaper that afternoon, you're already screwed. So when you have $1 million, billion, whatever dollars in the stock market, they pull that out immediately, that profit, and your money with it. So that's why your 401k is a certain level and it goes down, right? And then now you have the stock market is much better again. Your 401k goes up. Always look at that as a benchmark. The slot machine takers are going to know that the slot machine is full and they're going to take that money out again. So, present concerns like my 401k, the COVID-19 economy, how am I going to make it? Okay, that's functional depression. Even though you smile at work or smile at home, pretend like there's nothing wrong, if you've been through unemployment and you're still unemployed, if the rent was due and you can't pay it, you're in food lines, and last year you were eating at Tavern on the Green. If you can't give your child a Christmas present, if you lost your business. So that present concern weighs down on you, and then the blue skies come again. If you're able to get over that problem, you're able to solve it. And then always the third one comes along. Future issues. That's the third type of depression we have. Either past issues, present concerns, or future issues. So in future issues, you won't be able to retire on time. This will be your fear. Wow, they killed my 401k. It went down in half. You know, the plant I worked at just shut down. What do I do? So you could be in today and you still worry about the future. So at the same time, you're worried about the past where you came from. Wasn't born in a community, you'll say to yourself, that had a lot of income. And you're standing in a job in the current day that doesn't have a lot of income. And you're worried in the future that you won't have a lot of income. So a lot of people's depression is based upon money. So with that idea that you will not be able to retire, the stock market you think won't be there for you. There's other means that you can use. You can base your life upon other people's lives. You heard about keeping up with the Joneses? What about keeping up with your brothers and sister? Everybody has a brother and sister they think either doing better than them or worse than them. And you guys bet as kids, hey, I'm going to be this or this much better than you. And it happened. Excuse me. Or what about you don't have the skills right now. You've just lost your job because of COVID economy. And you don't have the skills what it takes to make it. And so your employer says you need to be retrained to someplace else. So the government is trying to encourage you at the unemployment office to be retrained in a new skill. And you've had a skill for 20 or 30 years. This thing is way out of your league. And you call it a future problem. What about things like your own health concerns? You're afraid to go to work because of that COVID type environment. You think about the presidency. Maybe in the future we won't have what you have right now. So all of those things, past issues, present concerns, and future issues. Now, money is not everything. I'll tell you that right off the bat. I've had great wealth and I've had little wealth. And the money does not make you happy. And as a person, you believe this yourself because at one time, when you were a little child, and your parents bought you or your mom bought you or your dad bought you a gift in a box, a little baby will play with the box longer than they will the toy. They'll take the box and push it around the house and neglect the toy. Somewhere along the line, somebody told you that your value was based on money. Your value is based on money. And I used to have a saying, if your value is based upon money, then that value and your self-esteem will go up and down based upon the current economy. And so a lot of people that hit the tank right now, their value that was the money. But it is not. You can buy an outfit or you can buy a car. You can buy the car at over $26,000 to $30,000. And you try to sell that car the next day. And the most they can give you is $6,000 less. And you say, why? I just bought the car from $30,000. Because that car was valued that to you, not to them. I learned it a long time ago in the 90s. When you buy something and you're in trouble, you try to sell it, it's not worth as much to them as it is to you. The guy told me, he said that when you pay that price, that's what it was worth to you. That's not what it's worth to me. But people's value is intrinsic. Your value has nothing to do with money. Because if you say in this economy, another one, you say, I lost everything. I have nothing. You didn't lose anything. What did you have when you left home at 18 from your parents? What was in your hand? Nothing, right? If you lost everything, what do you get? What do you lose? Nothing. You lose nothing yet. You can always come back. Now, make sure you give me your story, because the sun's coming out again. It's always going to be a sunny day once you get past the depression. See, children, or the child you were, is not stuck on depression. That's not their deal. Get out. Go running. Do something. Cortisol and dopamine that makes us feel happy, it eats up depression. It exists when you exercise. Cortisol, dopamine exists when you exercise. It's released. Exists when you do drugs. It's released. It exists when you have sex. It's released. So people who don't exercise or who forgot to have fun anymore, they'll either try to get it from sex, that kind of high, or they'll get it from drugs. You might notice right now the news is telling you this is the highest time in America or any other country that you watch this show around the globe. The people are doing alcohol more, people who are doing cocaine more, people who are doing marijuana more. Those things do release the body's cortisol. They release the body's dopamine or serotonin level, the pleasant feel that you have. And so instead of going out and getting that for yourself, exercising, having fun like you once did when you were a child, you get it from a mechanical means, and it only lasts temporarily. So depression is only a state of mind. There's no children. You've never seen a small child that's depressed. I always tell people, if you want to judge somebody, judge yourself. If you're a depressed person now, you got any drugs to get by through the week because you're in a bad economy. When you were a 4 or 5 year old child, did you need cocaine to make it through the week? Did you need a marijuana to make it through the week? Did you need Jack Daniels on a rock just to make it through the week? I'm not saying those things are bad, but you never needed them just to make it out of bed. Then if something's changed, it has to be your mindset. It's the same body, different mindset. You can swing that mindset back the other way. So this is Charles Rivers for Eminem. Tell me what you think. Give us your story. Motivate other people with your stories. What are you going through right now? And I mean the real stuff. Not that phony stuff. Everything's fine. I'm fine. How are you? Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Stop doing that. Tell people what you really feel. If they leave your presence, they live the same phony lie anyway, right? Love you guys. See you soon. Get out of your way. That's where success lies.
My mom scared to believe me, I had to show her that I'm doing what my heart said I'm supposed to. I'm living my dream, I'm stacking my cheese and I'm eating my needs. Ain't issue worry about me, because I do